while fashion is always changing, the sea remains the same. Swimwear evolved alongside fashion, shaped by the shifting views on modesty, cleanliness, and practicality. Swimming itself meant different things to each passing generation, whether for medical treatment, a sport, or just a means of enjoyment. What was worn in the water evolved too. First nothing, then shifts and billowing gowns, to wool bloomers and spandex. It was more than just a functional garment. Today, swimwear is more varied than ever, but the sea remains indifferent. The ancient Romans loved bathing and swimming. They erected bathhouses and gymnasiums with pools to soak and to swim in. Thanks to their advanced plumbing systems, they had access to enough, mostly clean and safe water for such activities. And what did they wear? Nothing. Clothing wasn't worn by men in gymnasiums, and while there are depictions of women exercising in what looked to be swimsuits, there's no evidence they actually wore them while swimming. But after the fall of the Western Roman Empire, many of the bathhouses and aqueducts fell into disrepair. Without centralized power, there were limited means of repairing them, and the materials were repurposed for roads and for buildings, and access to swimming pools and bathhouses declined. Bathing remained popular despite the limited plumbing, with bathhouses existing throughout Europe, Asia, and the Islamic world. By the Middle Ages, the ability to swim was seen as necessary for warriors, but it was rare for regular people. It was seen as immodest, and it was thought to spread diseases and infection. Water was often dirty and cold, and swimming could be unsafe. While swimming declined, bathing remained relatively popular. Queen Eleanor of Castile was reported to have loved bathing and constructed a king's bath in her palace. Throughout most of Europe, bathing was still done without clothing. However, during the 14th century, the church began to crack down on nudity, and evidence of a specific garment began to emerge in Central Europe. The Wenceslas Bible, commissioned by King Wenceslaus of Bohemia, has several illustrations depicting women in form-fitting, sleeveless shifts attending to King Wenceslas. These women were bathhouse attendants. I based the garment I'm wearing here off of the garments depicted in those illuminations. It can't be known how widespread these garments were, or if they were used for other purposes in addition to bathing. If widespread, such a garment would likely not have been worn outside a bathhouse. Certainly not at a public beach or stream, but its existence is intriguing, offering a glimpse into how women may have approached modesty and practicality while bathing. Bathing declined during the Renaissance, with a mass closure of public bathhouses in the 16th century, likely caused by the spread of disease and prostitution. People kept clean other ways, cleaning hair by brushing and combing it, and changing their shifts daily, as linen absorbs body oils. But as the centuries progressed, bathing once again became more and more common, with beach and spa retreats establishing. Historian Claudia Kidwell states in her book, Women's Bathing and Swimming Costume in the United States, after its decline in the Middle Ages, bathing achieved a new popularity as a medicinal treatment for both men and women. In England, this revival occurred in the 17th century, when certain medical men held that bathing in fresh water had healing properties. The resultant spas, which were developed at freshwater springs to effect such cures, expanded rapidly as the number of their devotees increased. In hopes of improving their health, people flocked to healing spas and bathhouses. There is no archaeological evidence of the garments worn to such spas, but several secondary sources mention a quote by traveler Celia Fiennes stating, "The ladies go to the bath with garments made of fine yellow canvas, which is stiff and made large with great sleeve like a parson's gown. The water fills it up so that it is borne off, and your shape is not seen. It does not cling close as other linens, which look sadly in the poorer sort that go to their own linen. The gentlemen have drawers and waistcoats of the same sort of canvas. This is the best linen, for the bath water will change any other yellow." I personally suspect that lining means linens, such as shifts, and not lining as in the lining of a garment. I wasn't able to find the original document of which this quote is from, so I include it cautiously. There is another book called The Histoire du costume de l'Antiquité, written in 1914, that supposedly depicts a copy of a 17th century fan leaf, on which women are shown to be wearing similar garments. I wasn't able to access it, however, to verify. Due to limited evidence, I chose not to recreate said garment, but I have made a drawing off of it based on Celia's description, which she later describes as a garment of flannel made like a nightgown with great sleeves. I believe that nightgown refers to the loose-fitting, billowing gowns upper-class women would wear for portraits, and not actual nightgowns for sleepwear. By the 18th century, bathing was once again common, and sea bathing became a popular activity, said to improve health. Bathing gowns resembled the shifts worn as underwear at the time, and were generally made of linen or wool. A bathing costume attributed to Martha Washington has lead weight sewn near the hem to prevent the skirt from billowing up and exposing the wearer while she bathed. An emphasis on modesty led to the development of bathing machines, which remained popular until the 20th century. Bathing machines were walled, roofed, horse-drawn carts in which a bather could change and be helped into the water without being seen by passerbys. In the mid-19th century, seaside holidays grew in popularity, the expansion of railways making travel quicker and easier, especially in England and America. Sea air was touted as a cure for many diseases, so people flocked to the coast to receive such benefits. Bathing costumes generally seemed to follow the fashionable silhouettes of the era. They were usually made from wool, but linen and cotton were also common. They were not made for swimming, as the weight of the submerged fabric would have made that impossible. Instead, they were made for wading in the water, and for relaxing on the beach. By the 1860s, most bathing costumes were two pieces, a top and bloomers. This would remain popular until the development of the princess suit in the late Victorian era. The turn of the century brought innovation to the world of swimwear. With the introduction of women's swimming in the 1912 Summer Olympics, swimming as a form of exercise became socially acceptable for more women. One-piece knit suits, closely resembling men's, became popular for women who wanted to swim rather than bathe. Annette Kellerman was an Olympic swimmer and popularized a one-piece costume which was sleeveless but covered her legs fully. She developed this costume for a swimming contest after she was told her usual attire was too immodest. She made it by sewing a pair of stockings to her existing swimsuit. This would gain popularity among athletes and women who preferred swimming over bathing. Most ladies' magazines were reluctant to publish about the more utilitarian swimsuits. However, swimming was beginning to be recommended by health professionals, and the bathing suits advertised would not suffice for more strenuous exercise. Modesty was still enforced on public beaches, with laws requiring stockings and regulations on skirt and shorts length, but those too gradually disappeared as attitudes regarding modesty evolved. As the 20th century progressed, travel became easier and beaches skyrocketed in popularity. No longer solely for health purposes, beaches and beach culture evolved to resemble what it is today. Swimsuits receded up the leg, and bright colors became the norm. More and more media depicted women in swimwear, with a variety of styles emerging based on what celebrities were wearing. However, swimwear was still made out of either jersey knit or woven fabrics, so it had limited stretch. This changed in the late 1950s. Spandex, under the brand name Lycra, was introduced into fabric, allowing for swimsuits that were form-fitting but didn't require zippers or buttons. The bikini was invented in 1946, but it was considered very immodest, and it would not be popularized until the 60s. After the popularization of the bikini, swimwear began to closely resemble what it is today. While trends came and went, the structure and coverage didn't change much. Swimwear today covers a multitude of occasions, with a great variety of styles. I've had a decade and a half of experience swimming in different styles of swimsuit, so I'm well versed in the benefits of modern swimwear. However, making and swimming in 600 years worth of swimwear was a delight, though I felt a little bit silly. I have all my sources in the description if you'd like to read further. And I have a few bloopers. It was pretty slippery where I filmed everything.